Well, good afternoon and welcome to this lovely summer weather in Germany. We are here today at the German headquarters of OM and want to introduce to you a ministry that is changing the lives of thousands of women, spread from Asia, Central Asia, over the Arabian Peninsula, all the way into the heart of Africa. And the ministry is called Self-Help Groups. It's part of OM's worldwide ministry. And I'm here today with Gene Stevens, who is going to share his heart about this ministry. He has been working with this ministry for years, probably you want to say decades, but he's going to get into it in a little while. Talking about self-help groups, what is one thing or what is the core that makes such a difference in this particular ministry for you when it touches the lives of women?
Well, it's just amazing to me how women find that they are valued, they are creative, they're capable to do things together. They can actually share their joys and sorrows with somebody outside the family, and they're not trapped. They can actually think about the future and plan for the future rather than just think, I cannot do anything, and be fatalistic about their lives. It's such an exciting thing to see women get animated in not only thinking about themselves personally, but also thinking about their group and how they can help their one another move ahead. And it's not how far they've come, it's where they've come from and how far they've come on that journey that's really very, very exciting to think about.
How did your journey start with the self-help groups? Talking about a little bit about yourself.
When I was in Central Asia, I saw friends of ours became champions for working among women. And we also heard rumors that it was actually women who could are more faithful, more focused, more willing to help one another. And they're also excellent at returning loans. The average of men is much worse than the average of women returning loans. So when we heard about these things, we thought this is a perfect opportunity to enter into the lives of women and support them and form groups of women to establish their own plans, to make their own programs for themselves, and to think about their own futures.
How are self-help groups set up? Share a little bit about that.
There are a few models, but the model that one of the agencies is using is a very purist model. And that model is where a group forms around somebody who has an interest to have a group. And they get to choose their own name. They get to choose their own rules. They get to choose how they want to organize themselves, and they often talk about how they're going to do the loans. There are some conditions, like you need somebody to write down who takes how much money, what decisions are made, how the money is being returned, and also the group just comes together. And now what's happened is that people who are in these groups, other women see them and say, can I have a group too? Can I be involved in a group? So it's creating its own momentum right now.
Women get obviously a voice through this ministry. They're being empowered from what I've heard about various reports and project reports. Could you share a small story with us how a life of a woman is changed through this ministry? Because we have to know that most of those women live in countries where they are oppressed.
Well, let me just tell you about Guljan. That means dear flower or sweet flower. She's a mother who had 7 children. She was married off very early, and she started a group called Spring, or Spring Hope, meaning the hope of the season of spring. And she's been in that group 7 years. She has 7 children, which is very common. She couldn't go to school. She was not allowed to go to school because when she was growing up, girls didn't have the opportunity to go to school. They weren't allowed to go to school. They had to help their families, help their mothers, and then get married. She got married off very young, but her dream was to learn to read. And when the self-help group started in her area, after some time, the facilitator said, would you like to be in a literacy group? And she said, yes, of course. And a whole group of them started reading. And after the graduation, at the graduation ceremony, she was so proud that she could read a poem in front of all these people. Mm-hmm. And then she took the second literacy course. And after the second literacy course, she was so full of confidence. She said, I can read, I can write, I can count, I can do mathematics. Mm-hmm. And she said, when I go to see the signs out on the street, I see the doctor signs. I know I can read about how to use medicine. I can help my children with their homework. And she's so excited about that. And when the person who was the bookkeeper and the note taker in the self-help group left and went somewhere else, she was able to become the bookkeeper, the book writer, she calls it. And she was so proud of herself because she said, I'm a tailor and I can use a tape measure now. Mm-hmm. And it's not where they are, it's where they came from. Mm-hmm. And she came from a totally illiterate family for the women. And she's now reading and helping her children in school and measuring things with a tape measure. And she's so proud of that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jean Stevens, for the opportunity of getting to know your ministry a little bit more, the area where you serve. And thank you for your heart and for this ministry. We want to keep praying for your ministry. And I want to introduce you to start praying for this ministry if you haven't started yet, and to maybe adopt this in your prayer calendar. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I wish you all the best and God bless you.